How's it going, guys? I have two of my good friends here with us today, Steve and Jasmin. I've gotten to know them through the channel, and we found out that we know some people in similar places here in the Philippines. It's always great to be able to connect with subscribers, and especially when they become friends like we have. So, Steve and Jasmin, thank you guys so much for being my first couple I've ever interviewed on the channel.
Thanks for having us, John. We really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank
And
you so
it's good,
much.
like we had talked to finally see each other face to face.
Yes.
We've
had a lot of Facebook conversations and things like
Exactly,
that. First time video to video. So great to talk to you guys live. So let me ask, can you guys please introduce yourselves and let us know where each of you are from originally and where you're living now?
My name is Steve, and I am from Chicago. I was born in the suburbs and basically raised there my whole life. So,
all right. So you've lived in Chicago your whole life. You haven't moved from that area?
No. Flatlander. They call us Flatlanders out here in Illinois. So
got it. And how about you, Jasmin? Where are you from originally?
From the Philippines.
Okay, great. From Cebu. Did you always live in Cebu?
Yes.
All right. Well, you are a long way from home. Jasmin, what was your journey, leaving the Philippines? When did that happen? And how did you wind up in Chicago?
I got an opportunity coming here. I'm thinking like my kids are young and I have my mom who watch my kids, and I said I will take the opportunity. I am so nervous that time, but at the same time I'm excited. So I came here to Chicago, and then I live with a friend.
Okay. And about what year was that?
2013.
Okay. So you've been there for about 8 years now. And
Yes.
then how long after you moved there did you two meet?
1 year for you. Yeah.
Yeah, after a year.
That was 2014 that we met.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you mind if I asked, did you guys meet online or through friends, or how did you two meet each other?
Yeah, we met online. OkCupid was the
the name of the website.
The website, yeah. The dating
Got
site.
it.
The dating site.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's, that used to be surprising, but I think these days it's more surprising if somebody actually meets in person than online, and especially with so many of us, Filipino-American couples out there. So you guys met, and how long have you guys been married now?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Great. And then when you met, both of you guys were over there in the U.S., but Steve, I know you've been over here as well. How long after you guys met did you have your first trip to the Philippines?
That would have been 3 years, John. 2017 was the first trip over. Yeah.
Okay.
To Cebu.
Okay. And had you ever traveled overseas before coming to the Philippines?
No, not that far. So, I mean, typical trip to the Caribbean or Mexico, but never a plane ride that long. So
yes, it's
it was
a
fun.
long flight. Yeah, very, very cool. So tell me about that. You hop on the plane and you're flying a long way over here. You're anticipating meeting, Jasmin's family. Can you remember, kind of like flying into the airport here? What was the experience your, first day here, if you can remember back?
Well, when we arrived late, I think the flight landed at 11:15, 11:30?
Yeah.
11, yeah. And that was the old airport, which I think now just for domestic flights. So the new MAC 10 airport wasn't open, the international. So,
I see.
We flew into there, and their family friend, well, he's our friend now, Paul, picked us up in his little van,
Right.
And I just remember, going through the city, and they had everything decorated for Christmas because this is late November. Yeah, that we so it was really cool seeing all the lights at nighttime. But then, of course, the house is up in the mountains. What?
Yes.
35 minutes out of the city.
Yes,
so
I've been there, so I know
right,
kind of
you're up.
picturing it in my own mind. It's quite a trek.
Yeah, you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. It's pitch black outside,
Yes.
and I just remember smelling brakes burning.
Okay. Not what you
And
want to smell. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so she looks at me and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "You smell that?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's brakes." And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, they're getting hot." And she's just like, "It's fine. Stop worrying. Everything's okay." I'm like, "Okay."
Welcome to
So,
the Philippines. Don't worry.
yeah, don't worry. So
You should live. Yeah.
exactly.
Yes.
I'm just like looking over the edge, some spots where I could see, like, okay, but it's fine. We made it to the house. And by then, because I think we stopped at Jollibee, we got chicken on
For
the way
everybody.
for everybody. And then we had sent boxes over. So by the time we got to the house, it was what, 12:45, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Sure.
And then, of course, everyone's lined up outside, all the kids. And she had already told me about, you're going to be blessed. The kids are going to bless you, and then we have to do it to mom.
Can you explain what that is? Steve, sorry to interrupt, but I know the first time one of Grace's nephews blessed me, I had no idea what was going on, and those watching may not know as well. So can you kind of explain what that is here in the Philippines?
So when we bless, it's a sign for us that we respect our older. So since I'm a little girl, my mom taught us. So everywhere we go, when we met or we cross in our way, we always stop and say, "Hi, how are you?" We bless. So
Yes. So one of the kids, Steve, would have taken your hand and kind of put it to their forehead.
Their forehead,
right?
exactly.
well, before we went, I tried to orient him because I don't want him to oh, what's going on? Why they're holding me? So I said to him, don't freak out if the kids, will hold your hand and he said, oh, okay. But I think he did not really think it through until we get there. And then all these kids, my nieces and nephews, hold his hand and he just stood up and there and just okay, one after another.
Yeah, because Jen, you've been there. You know that it's a big family.
Yes.
So
Yes. Jasmin has a wonderful big family over here. So what was that like for you, Steve? You had the brakes are burning experience, the Jollibee experience, and now the bless experience.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. What was that like for you?
It was quite a bit to take in. And then, of course, we get in the house and I'm thinking, oh, we can relax now. Oh, no. Well, now we're going to open up boxes. Sure. And then you're going to do the camera work. So we open up boxes and I filmed, basically videotaped and took pictures, right?
Yeah.
For a couple hours.
Right.
We didn't sleep. We literally didn't sleep that night. Like she's like, we're not going to sleep. I mean, so we stayed up, we did that. And then we ate at 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah. And then that's it. We were up the whole next day. Like there was and I was fine. Yeah. I initially I'm like, I'm going to be beat, but I think it's just your adrenaline's flowing. And
absolutely.
Yeah. It's a new place, new scenery, things you've never seen before. And of course, once the sun came up and I could just see how beautiful it is up there,
Yes.
The mist off
really
the mountain
area.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah. But it's also quite remote where you are as well. So not super far from, Cebu City where I am. That's probably, 30, 35-minute drive or so. But when you look around, it's really just green and dirt and road and a lot of roosters probably.
Yeah.
So what was that first, trip like after that? It was getting to know family there. How did you feel as, a foreigner over here in a different culture, meeting the family? What was that feeling like for you?
It was different, mainly because of the language barrier. I mean, obviously, her sisters speak English. Her brothers, I think they speak it, but they're kind of shy. So she would have to fill me in on a lot of things. And then the next day we basically walked around the neighborhood, met her aunts and uncles, cousins, you know.
Right.
So it was a lot to take in at first, but I like it. I mean, I love the culture anyway because, you know, I'm an open-minded person. So when her and I met, I mean, I fell in love with the food right away. So I was really looking forward to going there and having the real thing, you know, like, I mean, she would cook for me. You go to a Filipino restaurant here, it's nothing like having them cook for you. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I know when we went there to meet your family, Jasmine, Grace and I went over there, and they were so kind, just cooking a big meal for us, and they had the Bisaya manok there, which Grace tells me is the best. That's like the, you know, I guess kind of just like free range chicken, you could say, you know, walking around there. And, you know, Grace is like, wow, I can't wait to eat this, you know, because it's the good stuff there. But what about for you, you know, Jasmine? I'm sure it's one thing for you to just go home and it's you and people are speaking Bisaya and it's just normal. But this time you're navigating your husband also being there for the first time and, you know, I'm sure wanting to help him understand what's going on. And, you know, sometimes, as Steve mentioned, people can be pretty shy here, even if they do speak English, to talk to foreigners. What was that like for you, you know, coming back with Steve for the first time?
Well, it's really nice, and you know, to me, I am so proud to show him to my families that this is my husband. You know, and basically, I'm his interpreter. Like people will talk to him, and he will look at me, and then he will ask me like, "What are they saying?" And I will tell him, like, "Oh, they said you're handsome."
Right. Guapo Steve, I'm sure you heard that a lot.
Yeah. Or hey Joe.
Right.
You get that.
Right.
So
yeah, it's a different experience. You know? Please go ahead, Jasmine. Sorry about that.
And my kids, you know, like met him. So that was a big thing to them. And you know, we spent time with them. I mean, when we're there, we, you know, I barely see my friends and ex-co-workers before. I just, you know, we just spent time with my mom and my boys. So
the boys are great. They're great kids. You know, I don't think it was till the first day we hung around the house, right?
Yes.
The second day, did we go down to the city?
Yes.
Okay, so the first experience on a jeepney ride. Okay. So
tell us about that.
Her uncle was going to take us down to the city, and he's got like it's a pickup truck basically, right?
It's a multi-cab.
So open in the back. So we're in the back. We get in it, and you know how the hill there in the neighborhood, how steep it is, John. It's steep.
Yeah.
So the fumes, I mean, from the vehicle.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad. Now, you know, they're used to that, you know, but I mean, it was bad. And she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, my God. I said, we're going to take us all the way down to the city? Yeah, why? I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'm already getting a headache, you know? Oh, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, no, I'm not. So with this, she goes, okay, he's just going to take us down to the barangay, and, you know, we're going to get a jeepney from there. Okay, fine. So down to the barangay we go, by the river. Here's the jeepneys lined up. So I'm thinking, you know, there's some really nice looking jeepneys, you know, and I'm like, oh, we'll just, you know, we'll take that one there. You know, and she's like, we can't take that one. I'm like, why? She goes, because there's a rule. I'm like, what's the rule? She goes, you have to go whichever one's first. That one gets filled up first, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And then it goes down. So of course we get in the jeepney, and it's not the newest jeepney, you know.
Right.
I mean, I'm a mechanic by trade. So here I am, I'm looking at holes in the floor and this and that and the next thing, and we get going. Her mom's with us. I think was your nephew with us? I'm like, is this okay? And she's like, why are you worrying so much? And I'm like, well, I don't know, you know, is this thing going to make it down to the city? Of course it is. She's like, I've known this man my whole life. You know, he's done this his whole life. He's fine. We're going to get down there. And I'm like, okay. So we get out on the highway because, you know, you've got the back road that takes you all the way up. Then you get on the highway, which is very nice, you know. And we're going downhill, and the jeepney breaks down. It stops.
Right.
So here we are on the side, we're on the side of the road now, basically, or taking up some of the road, pointing downhill, and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with this thing. So we're sitting there, and she's, one thing that I have to realize when I'm there is she's like, your face, you make
facial expression.
Facial expressions, right?
Right.
Her Bob was like, what's wrong with Steve? They're talking, and I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, your face. And I'm like, well, should we be sitting in this vehicle while they're working on it? And she's like, well, why? And I'm like, because if for some reason it takes off down the hill, if you see down there, we're going over the guardrail and over, the edge.
I think you're making that face right now, Steve.
Yeah.
So I'm getting the full experience.
She's like, fine, we'll get out. We'll get out if it makes you happy. So we got out. Long story short, they fixed it. They got it running. We made it down there alive. And long story short, within about 3 days, I accepted death. If I died in the Philippines, I was good with it. It was fine.
Right. And you're here to tell the tale.
Exactly.
It's really different. And I think that what you guys are describing is such a common experience for foreigners living here and Filipinos living here. Actually, we were just out at dinner with some new friends last night, and there was another couple, Rose, and she's married to an American guy. They've been together for 30-some years, she was saying, but mostly living in the U.S., just back here, I think a few years ago. And, I think if you are a foreigner, even if you're a nice guy like you and maybe patient in the US, when you come to the Philippines, there's just some things that are so different. They're perfectly normal here. Nobody worries here. But the experience is so different that, what you're describing is really real life. So it makes me laugh and cry a little on the inside too. But it's a challenge. It's a challenge. And I think that getting used to a different culture, especially different from yours, takes a bit of adjustment. And I'm still to this day, a couple years living here, trying to take more of what Jasmin was telling you, what Grace tells me often, that, hey, you're not going to die. I mean, you might.
Right.
But
Exactly.
you won't. Is well. So what about going to the city? I mean, a lot different coming to the city compared to, being in the province or, country area there. What was that like for you?
You know what? I love the province, and I also love the city. I mean, Cebu City is, it's great. I mean, obviously, like any city, you've got some parts that are a little bit run down, maybe a little bit older, but then you have very modern sections of that city, especially the malls blew me away, and
They're
literally,
amazing.
yeah, they are. And the service, the quality of service you get from employees of these businesses, it's unparalleled. I mean, you're not going to get that kind of service back here in the United States. You just don't.
Sure.
The closest you might get is if you go to Ace Hardware and get somebody that knows what they're talking about. And I mean, any store. She went shopping for some pants, I think, for the boys for school.
Yes.
Right away, the sales lady is like, oh yes, let me show you what we have.
Give me the sizes.
Yeah, I mean, incredible. And then we needed some stuff from the hardware store. I think we went to Wilcon, right?
Yes.
Wilcon.
Italy side.
Yeah, and the kid's like, do you have a list? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, let me have it. He goes, come with me. And we were in and out of there in 15 minutes. We had everything we needed.
Right.
And you just don't get that here. Like, she was laughing. She goes, if we were back home and this was Home Depot, you'd be like, hey, I'm looking for this. You know what? That's not my department. I don't know what to tell you. You got to go find the guy that's in that department.
Right.
We often make a joke of it. Like when we go, and I will tell them, it's like, oh, it's not your department. So which department you are? Because we're going there.
Yeah.
Right. So what are some other takeaways for you, Steve, when you were here? Anything else that you would share to people that you experienced? Some good things, some challenges.
The biggest challenge I see there, and I don't want to offend anybody by any means,
Sure.
Filipino or whatever, but garbage pickup is my biggest issue.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's not the fault of the people. I mean,
Sure.
there should be garbage pickup. Seeing trash laying all over the place and plastic and whatnot. It's so beautiful there. It just turns my stomach. I know that there's some vloggers there that they go out and they clean up. They do clean up in the ocean, on this and that and the next thing. But I think the government really needs to step up and do something about it.
I agree.
It's not that hard. If you tell people, okay, we're going to give you so much money per aluminum can, or we're going to give you so many pesos if you bring a bag of plastic back, that island will be cleaned up within a month.
You're
but
right.
As far as a lot of positive takeaways, I mean, Filipinos are so resilient. And when we talk about, the jeepney breaking down and, they're so resilient, they can fix things. They can do just about anything, and I think it's great. I mean, it's not uncommon to see, someone's scooter or motorcycle on the side of the road and they're working on it and they fix it, and they're on their way.
Yes, I think there's a quiet, humble strength to Filipinos where these kind of things that are going to make guys like you and I feel like our world's stopping, they just take it and go, and they make it look easy, but it's not easy, as any foreigner will tell you. And if there's one thing I wish I could be more like here, it would be resilient in those kind of ways to, kind of roll with the punches and, be a little bit more like water in the ocean instead of cement. I think most of us foreigners are like cement, and Filipinos are a bit more like water in the ocean. And it's a beautiful thing. And it's something that I think you could take for granted when you live here, that Filipinos are just that way. But I really think there's a lot of strength to having that kind of flexibility and that kind of resilience over here as well. So what about your guys' life? I mean, most of the time you have been together, has been in the U.S. What about for you, Jasmin? If we could kind of look at your experience, what was it like for you, if you could look back to your first day in the U.S.?
Wow.
So, yeah.
It's kind of hard because I came by myself with nobody. I don't have family members. I have no one to, to cry on. I have to be on my own.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So all I have to do is like pray and, like guide me and, just basically I came here like I'm looking for the, opportunity that I can help with my kids for the future, my mom and my siblings.
Sure.
So a lot of people will tell me it's like how strong I am, but yes, I mean there's nights that I cried, but
Sure.
There's nights that I just have to say like, I have good intentions. I have to do this, for my kids.
Right.
And it changed when I met Steve. Basically he's the best thing besides my kids, of course. When I start meeting with him, then like things change. I have my best friend, and things went well. It's great. And even with his families, like his mom and dad took me in as like their own daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean basically it's a wonderful thing that he came to my life.
Yeah, you guys are super sweet together. So whenever I see your guys' interaction just as friends, I love seeing couples like you guys. You're a little bit more rare than I wish you were. But let me back up first before you met Steve. When you moved here, I know that so many Filipinos will move to another country to be able to help their family, OFWs, as they're called, overseas workers. Was your intention when you first moved to the US to meet an American and get married and live there, or was your first intention to just work there for a certain amount of time?
Actually, Jen, I made a promise to my son. When I left, my youngest was a year and a half or 2 years old. And I look at them and I look at my mom and I said to them, I'm just gonna go there and I'm just gonna work for, you know, probably good 5 to 7 years, and then I'll come home.
Mhm. Sure.
I really did not, it did not came to my mind that I'm gonna meet someone, and marry. Because to
Sure.
me, like my past, I have a horrible past relationship, and I'm thinking it's like I'm done with it. I have 3 boys, I'm good.
Mhm,
But then, my friend, was telling me, Jasmine, you're so young, don't say that. You're gonna meet someone. And I said to her,
Sure.
it's like, oh no, I'm good. And every single day she's like, come on, let's go to that, dating site. You should put something in there. And I said to her, it's like, well, I'm kind of heavier, way back then. So I said to her, it's like,
Sure.
I'm kind of heavier. And she says, like, are you kidding me? And she's like, you're a Filipino, they're gonna love you. And I said, okay, I'll try. So then, but I prayed so hard. I said, Lord, if this is your will, I just want to meet one. I just want to date one. And if it doesn't go through, I mean, I'm done. Like, I just want you to respect my decision. I'm done. I don't want any. So then, yeah, Steve is like, we met first and then we date first.
Wow.
And then,
Yeah.
we
You dated for
married.
2 years.
Yeah, we dated for 2 years. Then
Sure.
we decide to marry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to get married. So
That's great. Well, you met one of the good guys over there. I think of you like a sister, and as a sister, Steve is one of the guys that I would have approved. There's a lot of American guys that I'm glad you didn't meet, and Steve is well. Obviously, you guys were meant to be. I know there's so much good about your relationship, but let us know, are there any cultural differences or, things that were a challenge for you guys to get used to in your relationship at the beginning or now?
I don't know if I would say challenge as much as just understanding, like, but she was helping her family a lot, financially and whatnot.
Sure.
And then, here in America, we're not used to that because everyone's on their own, usually even your family members, hey man, I don't know what to tell you. You're on your own,
Right.
It's kind of what it's like. But when I went to the Philippines for the first time, and then I really understood, okay, like the way the family's structured and the way things are. I mean, there's only so much opportunity there,
Right,
for certain people.
Right.
So then I kind of, the light bulb went on, like, whoop, okay, I get it now. I wouldn't say it was like a deal breaker, but I didn't really understand until I went there and met her family, then I was like, okay. But other than that, I loved Asian food to begin with, but I never really had Filipino food before. So, and I love maybe one restaurant here in Chicago that their food's decent, but it's still nothing like her food. It really isn't.
Yeah. It seems like
But I don't know,
Filipino food
Jasmine,
hasn't really taken off in the U.S. yet.
Culturally.
Yeah.
but to me, John, what struggled me even up to this point is when you introduce to someone and then, they will say, Madeline, and they're older than me. Like, for example, to his parents, they will say, it's like, call me Madeline or call me Bill. And I always say, like, I said to him, like, he said to me, it's like, you're going to meet my mom, my parents. I want you to meet them. And I said, like, okay, how am I going to call them? And he says, like, just call them Madeline and Bill. I said, like, no, I'm not used to. Because we Filipinos, or probably Asian too, we called, like, if they are older, we address them like ma'am or sir or ati, kuya, like show of respect, or uncle, or aunt and uncles or something like that. But here in America, up to this point, if I met someone even from the church or somewhere, and if I see them like they're older than me, I will say ma'am or sir, or ati and kuya. But they always tell me, it's like, they always correct me, like, no, just call me by my name. And I said, it's like, that's kind of awkward. Like, I feel like I'm disrespecting them.
I understand. I think those are one of the challenges. When I first moved to the Philippines, everybody would call me sir.
Yeah.
And for me, I felt, at first I said, please just call me John. And I think in the US, when you say that, it's actually a way of showing somebody that you like them. And, if somebody just addresses you as your first name, it's a way to say, hey, I like who you are, we're close, none of the formalities, that type of thing. And it's actually a sign of not so much respect necessarily, but just communicating that you like the person and that you just want to be on equal terms. And here, after a while, though, I stopped telling people not to call me sir. And the reason why is that I saw that people here in the Philippines weren't just calling me sir. When Grace and I would get in the taxi, she would call the taxi driver sir or kuya, which kind of means like older brother. Everybody talks to everybody like that here. So I understood, oh, they're not treating me differently because I'm, some old guy foreigner. That's just how people, are here. And it's one of the things that, really makes me a little bit emotional, with the Philippines is just how truly kind and respectful people are here. And you see that in the language that people use to talk to each other. So sometimes people will call me kuya here now, which, means older brother. And it means a lot to me. But it took a while to kind of understand the difference with those things as well. And I think this is just one of the examples of, both of our cultures is our intended meaning is different than how we receive it at first until we really understand, the differences with those things. But what about, challenges that you've had in the US, Jasmin? What have those looked like for you? You said it was very hard, at the beginning, but what other experiences have you had or cultural differences that have been a challenge for you as a Filipino living in the US?
Not really, right?
Other than people thinking like you're much younger.
Oh,
than you
yeah.
are.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's funny or something, but 5 years ago, or even up to now, like when I go to the grocery store, and especially on winter time when you have your coat or something, and then sometimes the cashier will ask me like, "Where's your mom? How come you're here? Aren't you supposed to be in school?" And I will like literally like, no, I old and I am a mother of three, and I think like they think I'm a kid, or I'm so young. Sometimes like I will take it as a good compliment, but then sometimes I was just like, do I have to look like more matured? What is it, like what should I do?
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah,
We
that's
went
a
to an
little
Asian
different. You do
buffet
look young.
about 5-6 years ago. It was in the wintertime. So it was cold out, we got our winter jackets on. We went to an Asian buffet, and it was in the middle of winter. So, we're all bundled up with our winter jackets on.
Right.
And the kids, you had to go up and pay first. So it was Jasmin, myself, and my youngest son.
2 boys, Matthew and Ben.
Oh, was Matthew with us?
Mhm.
So, and he's like, the girl, how old's the little girl?
Oh my
And I'm like,
goodness.
what little girl? What are you talking about? He's like, her. I said, that's not a little girl. That's my wife. He's like, oh, if it was a little girl, it would have been free. She would have been free. I'm like, seriously?
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
awkward, but I think it's because, a lot of Filipinas they're petite and they're short,
Sure.
they look younger, I mean,
Sure.
if they were a foot taller, probably wouldn't have that problem.
Right. Right.
So it was weird though.
I understand. I think you're kind of a tall guy too, Steve. So it might, accentuate things as well. So tell me, what do you guys both do over there? Are you both working now, or what's work life look like for you?
Well, I'm a pensioner. No, I joke. I'm not working,
Nice.
Jen.
Yeah. So I am a heavy equipment mechanic. I'm an operating engineer, which basically we are equipment operators, dirt moving equipment. The company I work for, basically, they rent out hoisting and access equipment. So boom lifts, small cranes. But if you look on the horizon of Cebu City and you see all the tower cranes, because I know there's a lot of tower cranes up there erecting buildings. Those are all operating engineers, all those guys that are up there operating the cranes. So that's my trade. The company I work for owns about 4,000 pieces of equipment. We're a big rental house, privately owned, and business is good. No complaints. It's been a great year, and a lot of projects coming up here in Chicago. So we've got about another $9 million worth of equipment that was just purchased. So
yeah, that's incredible. Just one piece of those equipment I know are so expensive.
Yeah,
so I can't
we were
imagine.
talking about that.
Yeah, that's incredible. What about you, Jasmin? Have you had experience working in both the Philippines and US?
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about, experiences of working in both cultures?
I would say pretty much the same because like it's the same demand, I would say, but
Mhm.
the difference is like the wage. So
Mhm.
um way back in the Philippines, I was a licensed midwife, and then I came here, and then I became a caregiver. Then I start, like training with different people that have different problems. So then I became like, like people will recommend me to their friends, their families, and but then like it's kind of hard to me because I related to my father. My dad died early at the age of 49, and I wasn't be there for him because I have to work to support because my mom basically he's caregiver, and I came from a big family, but my siblings have their own family, so basically it's just me, my younger sister, and my younger brother. So my mom is the caregiver, so I feel like I wasn't there for my dad when he needs me the most. Then I met this guy. His name is Gil. So he have ALS. Basically, it's a neurologic. You lose your muscle, your muscular.
Right.
So he can't move. He can't. You know, basically he can. That time he can talk and like move his head, but no arms, no legs. So basically, I'm his caregiver, doing pretty much everything for him, move
Sure.
his arms, move his legs. He's a very wonderful guy. And he took me in as his daughter. He had three daughters, but he cared about me. Same thing with the wife. And I look up him and his wife as my own parents.
Mhm.
When he passed away, he took a lot out of me. And I said, I think that's about it. But
Sure.
pretty much, it's a good pay, but it's depressing, especially when you get to know the person, and you basically get yourself into them and know them, and you become part of them, and like they become part of you.
I
So when
understand.
he passed away, I said to Steve, like, I don't think so I can do it anymore because
Mm.
it takes a lot out of me. Even until now, I miss my dad. At the same time, I miss him. Like,
Sure.
but I still communicate with the wife and the family. They are wonderful, families, and basically we still keep in touch. But yeah, right now, I'm not working and just doing household chores and
Yeah.
like good deals, at the store, and then buy them and then send it to the Philippines for my kids.
Professional shopper.
Yeah.
There you go. Next time someone asks what's your job, that's what you should tell them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would love to
Professional
be a
shopper.
personal shopper.
Yeah.
Yes, I get it. Well, enjoy. It sounds like you had a very, rewarding but difficult job as well. So enjoy that time off, while you can. So what about the future for you guys? You've lived in the U.S. You've been to the Philippines. Do you plan on being in the U.S. forever or coming back to the Philippines? What's your thoughts on that?
The plan is to move to the Philippines, and we'll go back and forth. So come back here for
Okay.
3-4 months out of the year to visit, my boys, and then, live the rest of the year over there because, Jasmin, she's got a house already there.
Right.
So we don't have to worry about that. It's just getting our ducks in a row here and our time frame and get the house sold and that's it. Box up our stuff in a container and that's it. The rest of it, goodbye,
Sure.
Yeah.
So are you planning, Steve, when you move here that you will also become a professional shopper? Or, what's your plans when you get here?
I like to tinker with stuff. So, I mean,
there's a lot of Jimneys need some work here.
Yeah. I mean, fixing motorbikes, whatever. And then we plan on traveling, we want to go see the islands and travel around the region, Singapore, Japan, just pan out from there. It'll be nice to not have to do, I guess, so many domesticated jobs that we're used to doing here on a daily basis and maybe focus more on ourselves and, go for a hike every morning, get our own routine because it's been, our whole life, it's been work, and then when you come home from work, you still got to work because you got to work on the house. This broken, that's broken, got to cut the grass. It seems like it's a grind that never ends,
You're asleep of your own sleep.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be nice to not have to worry about some of those things and maybe just have some other people do that for us, which the house there, I mean, is basically concrete. So there's not a lot of maintenance involved as to where here, you got to seal the deck. You got to do this. You got to do that. So those are things I don't think we'll have to worry about much there. So I'm looking forward to it. I know Jasmin
I'm looking forward to having you guys over here as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. We connect, over the internet, but sometimes as a foreigner living over here, it's nice to connect with another foreigner that kind of gets stuff as well. And, it's going to be fun to have you guys moving over here. So one final question, on my channel, we don't talk a lot about relationships, but, you guys are a great example of, a really loving, caring couple. I know there is a lot of people on my channel from the US or other Western countries and, definitely a lot of people from the Philippines and quite a number of them, are looking for relationships here. What would you tell those guys, has helped you to be successful in your relationship, as a cross-cultural couple?
You want to answer that?
Well, I mean, it's not, it's not easy to have a long distance relationship. But I think like if the two people or two person are sincere and being honest from the beginning,
right,
and make an effort. It's just not like, like we're chatting back and forth and spending time on, on the laptop or cell phones. It should be like, to the point that if you are serious to that person, you should, put an effort to go and meet the family and see if there's like a chemistry, get to know each other. And it's basically the same thing with us. The only thing is like I was here. So, but we still did the same thing. Like we talk every day, we text every day. And, and I said like, well, I just don't want to keep texting back and forth. We in some point we have to see each other. So then we set up a date and then from there, then, the second date and then the third date. And then I said, it's like, oh, okay. I like him. And, so.
I think that if, there's American men that are interested in maybe meeting a Filipina or, any woman from that part of the world, if you don't have any intentions on going there, then don't go on a website and get on a dating site and start chatting with somebody.
Sure.
Okay. And obviously, you could spend as much time as you want to and scroll through and chat with a bunch of different women. But don't string somebody along for 6 months or a year with no intentions of going there and meeting them. And the same token, I would advise anybody, don't send money to somebody that you've never met or you only know them online or, chatted with them online. I mean, you don't know who you're sending money to. A lot of men have been scammed. But I would really recommend, like, anyone watching the channel that's interested in going to the Philippines when it opens back up, take a trip. Take 2 or 3. You can't go for a week. You're not gonna take that flight and go there for a week. At least 2 weeks minimum. I'm gonna say Cebu, because I'm married to a Cebuana, but Cebu is the central portion of the Philippines. It's a great city. It'd be a great place for somebody to come and start. It's a starting point. Get your feet wet. I mean, you don't have to go there and with any intentions of meeting anybody. Just go there and geographically see the area and come up with a game plan, and ease into it if that's your intention. I mean, and on the other hand, and I would say if you're going to meet somebody and get serious long term, you have to think about, if you're going to move there and you're going to be with a Filipina, what are your plans long term, especially if you're older, because there are guys that are older that go there and they meet somebody that's younger, much younger, age gap. If you pass away, what's going to happen to this person? I mean, so there's a lot of things that you have to think of, not just I'm going to go there, I'm going to date somebody, this and that, the next thing. You have to think down the road, what am I going to leave for this person? Am I just going to leave them high and dry? Because if you get serious, you have to start thinking about all these things, especially some of these guys, you've probably heard about it. They go there, they get married or they're dating and they have a couple of kids with a woman and they die. Unexpectedly, they pass away. Now this woman's got a kid or 2 kids and no income. They have nothing, and then the guy never straightened out his will or whatever. If he had any money, she's not going to get anything. So maybe it's just a nice guy in me, but I mean, I like to think, if you're going to get into this, you have to think long term for both parties, what's going to be best, or, if you don't want to get serious, then I guess you're just going to date around,
Yeah.
That's it.
And you see that, I'm sure we both see a lot of that, over here. So, you mentioned sometimes it might be a Filipina scamming a foreigner, just kind of stringing them along online or coming over here and just, dating. But, I think quite often it's the foreigner that is kind of scamming somebody by, false hopes and promises as well. So, that's why I said when I look at you guys, you're a great example of things and, planning for the future. That's really a great point to bring up and, worthy of probably a whole nother, chat at some time as well, because I really don't hear that spoken about, very often. So I appreciate you raising that.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I have really, loved having the time to chat with you guys face to face like this. Thank you for being willing to be interviewed on the channel. And I can't wait to see you guys in person over here. I hope not too far down the track.
Same here, John. We appreciate you having us on. We really enjoyed the interview. So
thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate all your guys' support, and we'll touch base soon as well. So you guys have a great evening over there in Chicago.
Have a great day, John. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.